Up until now, we've learned lots of Korean words. But words on their own won't help you have a conversation. Today, everything changes. In this lesson, we're going to combine the pronouns from our previous lesson with the verbs you've already learned. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to build dozens of your own Korean sentences. 안녕하세요! Welcome to Learning Korean for Absolute Beginners. This is the series which teaches you the fastest and easiest way to learn the Korean language. Welcome back, everyone! Last lesson we learned Korean personal pronouns like I, you, he, she, and we. Learning those words is important, but learning the language isn't about memorizing individual words. It's about putting those words together to create meaningful sentences. That's exactly what we're going to do today. We'll also look at why Korean sentence structure is different from English, and how pronouns work alongside verbs and nouns. By the end of today's lesson, you'll already be able to create dozens of simple Korean sentences. Before we start building Korean sentences, let's quickly recap what we've learned so far. In our last lesson, we learned about personal pronouns. These are words we use to talk about ourselves and other people without repeating their names over and over again. Let's go through the main ones together one more time. 저 is I. 당신 is you. 그 is he. 그녀 is she. And 우리 is we, or sometimes our. If you remember those 5 words, you've already got the foundation for creating lots of simple Korean sentences. But knowing the words is only half the story. We also need to know how to put them together in the correct order. In English, we usually build our sentences using this pattern: subject, verb, object. Let's take a simple example. I like coffee. Here, I is the subject, like is the verb, and coffee is the object. Korean, however, uses a different word order. Instead of saying, I like coffee, Korean literally says, I, coffee, like. This means the verb almost always comes at the very end of a sentence. Let's look at the Korean version. 저는 means I, 커피를 means coffee, and 좋아해요 means like. Notice how the order is now: subject, object, verb. Once you understand this simple pattern, you'll be able to build hundreds of basic Korean sentences. But you may have noticed something interesting. A moment ago, we said the word for I was simply 저. So why has it suddenly become 저는? And why has 커피 become 커피를? The answer lies in one of the most important parts of Korean grammar: particles. They might sound a little intimidating at first, but don't worry. Once you understand what they do, you'll realize they're actually quite straightforward. So let's take a look. As we just discussed, the word 저 has suddenly become 저는. That's because of the Korean particle 는. Particles tell us what job a word has in the sentence. For example, the particle 는 tells us that 저 is the topic of the sentence. Don't worry too much about remembering every rule today. For now, just remember that you'll often see 는 attached to pronouns. So, 우리 becomes 우리는, 그 becomes 그는, 그녀 becomes 그녀는. But 당신 does not become. 당신은 당신 instead becomes 당신은. Do you notice the slight difference? This is a very small grammatical note to pick up on. So 당신 ends in a consonant. The particle object of knowing, spelled N, E, U, N, is only attached to words ending in vowels. But because 당신 ends in a consonant, we use N, spelled E, U, N. Now everything is coming together. This is why I stress so much for you to go back and watch all the previous episodes, both as a refresher to yourself, but also if you haven't already. We are building our knowledge lesson by lesson, so watching all videos is super important. Now that we understand Korean sentence structure, it's time to start building some real Korean sentences. The great thing is, we already know almost everything we need. We know our personal pronouns, we know some useful verbs, and we know that Korean sentences usually follow the pattern: subject, object, verb. So let's put all of those pieces together. We've already learned 저는 커피를 좋아해요 with 저는 meaning I, 커피를 meaning coffee, and 좋아해요 meaning like. Notice how the verb comes right at the end of the sentence, just as we learned earlier. Now here's something really exciting. We don't have to learn a brand new sentence every time. We can simply swap one word. Instead of coffee, let's use Korean food. Everything else stays exactly the same.
Read with me. 저는 한국 음식을 좋아해요.
Or I like Korean food. Notice that the pronouns stayed the same. The verb stayed the same. We only changed the object. This is how you'll begin creating your own Korean sentences. Now let's change something different. This time, instead of changing the object, let's change the subject. Instead of saying I, let's say he. Everything else stays exactly the same. The only word we've changed is the pronoun. 그는 커피를 좋아해요, which means he likes coffee. Notice that 좋아해요 hasn't changed. In English, we say I like coffee, but he likes coffee. We have to add an S to the verb. Korean is much simpler. Whether we are talking about I, he, she, or we, the verb 좋아해요 stays exactly the same. Let's try another one. This time, we'll change the subject to she. Read it with me. 그녀는 커피를 좋아해요, which means she likes coffee. Once again, only the subject has changed. The object and the verb stay exactly the same. And finally, let's change the subject one more time. This time, we'll use we. 우리는 커피를 좋아해요, meaning we like coffee. By changing just one word, we've created another completely new sentence. Can you see the pattern? The sentence structure hasn't changed. The verb hasn't changed. We've simply swapped the pronoun at the beginning of a sentence. Once you understand this pattern, you can begin creating dozens of your own Korean sentences using the vocabulary you've already learned. So far, we've only used one verb, 좋아해요, to like. But what happens if we replace that verb with want, need, or go? That's exactly what we'll look at next. Let's use a phrase we already know. 한국 음식, meaning Korean food. If you're using it as the object in a sentence, you'll add the object particle 을, because 음식 ends in a consonant. So it becomes 한국 음식을. That's 한국 음식을. This differs from coffee because coffee ends in a vowel, meaning coffee is 커피를. Notice the difference? 을 versus 를. You'll notice that many Korean particles come in pairs, like 은 and 는, or 을 and 르. Which one you use depends on the last sound of the word before it. If the word ends in a vowel, use 는 or 르. If it ends in a consonant, use 은 or 을. Korean does this to make words flow more naturally when spoken. Our first sentence is 저는 한국 음식을 원해요. Let's break it down. 저는 means I. 한국 음식을 means Korean food. 원해요 means want. Put them together and we get 저는 한국 음식을 원해요. Or in English, I want Korean food. Notice that we've kept the same sentence structure. The only thing we've changed is the verb. And that's going to bring us to the end of today's lesson. Let's take a moment to look at everything we've covered. Today, we learned how to take the personal pronouns from our previous lesson and use them to build complete Korean sentences. We also reminded ourselves that Korean sentences usually follow the pattern subject, object, verb. We learned how particles like 는, 은, 르, and 을 attach to words and how to choose the correct one depending on whether a word ends in a vowel or a consonant. We then put all of that knowledge together to create our own Korean sentences using different pronouns, nouns, and verbs. Finally, we discovered one of the best things about learning Korean. In polite speech, the verb usually stays exactly the same, no matter whether you're talking about I, he, she, or we. That's a huge milestone, because from now on, you're no longer just memorizing words, you've started building your own Korean sentences. As your vocabulary grows, you'll be able to use this exact same sentence structure to create hundreds of different sentences and express more and more of your own ideas in Korean. In our next lesson, we'll build on everything we've learned today by introducing Korean adjectives, so you'll be able to describe people, places, and things, making your Korean sound even more natural. If you found today's lesson helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps more people discover these lessons and supports the growth of the series. And if you're new here, don't forget to check out the previous episodes, where we cover everything from learning Hangul and syllable blocks to greetings, introductions, useful verbs, and restaurant phrases. Following the lessons in order will make learning Korean much easier. Thank you so much for watching. Keep practicing what you've learned today, and I'll see you in the next lesson.